I'm Tina Fordham, and this is the Navigator at the London Stock Exchange. I had planned to start the year with an overview of key themes and signposts for 2026, but that will have to wait. The surprise U.S. operation in Venezuela has meant the year has got off to a very geopolitical start, but having said that, we did have Maduro exit on our 2026 geostrategy bingo card. If you've been following our work, you will have been shocked but not surprised by the events in Venezuela. In the last episode, I shared my two geostrategy words of the year, predatory and coercion. But the forces that have been unleashed go beyond Latin America and are consistent with our Geopolitics Supercycle thesis, where increased risk drivers are breaking through global guardrails and causing a higher number of geopolitical shocks. 2025 saw the acceleration of the supercycle, and it marked a wake-up call for the C-suite. We think last year was the tipping point, and this year we're entering a brave new world. The initial effect on financial markets and oil prices of the U.S.-Venezuela intervention has been muted, which is what we expected given the country's much diminished global oil output. It also reflects what we think is the broader view in financial markets this year, which I describe as all news is good news. Nevertheless, we think there will be a ripple effect across the wider geostrategy ecosystem, and the impact won't remain contained to Latin America. Breaking down the early policy signals from the White House, the stated short-term U.S. goal is refining the estimated 50 million barrels in stranded oil supplies currently trapped in the tankers off the Venezuelan coast and paying down Venezuela's numerous creditors. This plan could, however, encounter challenges, including complications from the situation on the ground, given that the timing for a path to a political transition and economic recovery prospects for the population still remain unclear. Without changes to Venezuela's governance structure and domestic political and socioeconomic stability, international investors will be reluctant to commit the sizable funding needed to revive the country's energy infrastructure and allow its return to the international capital markets. This process will take years. Zooming out, the U.S. extraction operation in Venezuela matters not only for Latin America and for the global commodities outlook, but also for the geopolitical calculus and who holds the cards. The U.S. is practicing geopolitics in its most raw form by projecting military power and using foreign policy coercion as a tool of statecraft. Russia is impacted because it has long positioned itself as providing security guarantees and economic support for Venezuela as well as Cuba, and the U.S. wants Russia to make concessions to help end the war in Ukraine. Those peace talks are happening this week in Europe. China is a major consumer of Venezuelan oil and has become very active in Latin America over the past 2 decades, while Iran, where the regime is currently under intense pressure from mass protests, hosts its largest embassy in Latin America in Caracas. Taken together, the aftermath of the U.S. intervention in Venezuela will be complicated, both globally and domestically, as is always the case for any post-authoritarian transition. We're being asked questions also about the knock-on effects on other countries such as Mexico, Canada, and Greenland. Here, I'm cautious about sweeping change, and I note that despite the ambitiousness of U.S. rhetoric, facts on the ground and other constraints will dictate the pace of events. We could see some contagion effects on the upcoming elections in Colombia, Brazil, and Peru, as well as the USMCA trade talks later this year and potentially U.S. midterms, given the large Venezuelan and Cuban populations in the U.S., but we don't think there will be much immediate impact on gas prices for the U.S. consumer. As ever, I'll close with my favorite quote from Louis Pasteur: "Fortune favors the brave, but chance favors the prepared mind." For more of our analysis on this and other geostrategy topics, follow me on LinkedIn and sign up for our free newsletter.